Good morning, dear children. Children, today we are going to start our history chapter 4, that is the Mughal Empire. Children, so in the previous chapter, we talked about different dynasties. Fine. How there were different dynasties. And do you remember which was the last dynasty in that table? Yes, children, it was the Lodi dynasty. So, Ibrahim Lodi was defeated by Babur, and Babur put the stone for Mughal Empire. Fine, he captured Delhi, and slowly and gradually he tried to annex the areas in the subcontinent. Children, if we talk about the Mughal Empire, we talk from 1526 to 1707, that is from Babur to Aurangzeb. In the coming table, you will just see we are going to discuss from Babur, and then we will talk till Aurangzeb, because the later Mughals, they were not such powerful. Fine. Now from Babur to Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire expanded a lot. But after the death of Aurangzeb, the empire started to contract, children. So that's why we talk about these powerful Mughal rulers, and we do not talk about the rulers which came after Aurangzeb. Fine, children. Now these Babur, Aurangzeb, they were the one who expanded the Mughal Empire a lot. Fine. Now why it expanded? There was some reason. See, in the previous chapters we have discussed that ruling a large territory as the Indian subcontinent, which was having a diversity of people and culture, it was really difficult to control such a big, subcontinent. Now you will say that now how can they control the subcontinent? Because children, they were having why they how they were able to accomplish this, because children, they were having administration, their structure of administration, their ideas of governance, that helped them to rule for such a long time. Even their political legacy, their succeeding rulers, they also adopted the same. And you'll be surprised to know that even after the Mughal Empire, see, the Mughal Empire came to an end in 1857, the revolt of 1857, you remember. After that, the British, they took control over the subcontinent. Fine. Now till then, if you talk about, they ruled for 150 years. The Mughals, they ruled for 150 years. Their policies, their administration policies, children, their ideas of governance was used by the Britishers also, and is used till now. Fine. Now, just for example, the title Subedar. So the Subedar title was given in the Mughal army only. Fine. So their administration was such, impressive, that it was used by the British as well as it is used now. Fine, today you find the Prime Minister speaking, addressing the nation on Independence Day from the ramparts of the Red Fort, means the thick walls of the Red Fort, which is in Delhi. And this Red Fort, children, was it was the residence of the Mughal emperors. Fine. In the previous chapter, we have talked about the Delhi Sultanate, who all were there, who ruled the Delhi. Now, after Ibrahim Lodi, the Lodi dynasty was the last dynasty. After that, children, Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi, and he was on the throne. He took up the throne. Now, see, now we will talk about who were the Mughals, children. Now, children, if you talk about the Mughals, they used to tell that they were the descendants of two great lineages. Fine. Now they had two great, people. Their ancestors were very great. If they talk about their mother side, from the mother side, they were the descendant of Genghis Khan. We discussed Genghis Khan in the previous chapter also, children, that he was the ruler of Mongol tribe, and he was a very ruthless ruler. He captured a lot of areas, including China and the Central Asia. So they say, the Mughals used to say that from mother side, they were the descendants of Genghis Khan, who died in 1404, and sorry, he died in 1227. And from the father side, you children, they used to claim that they were the successors of Temur. Fine. Timur, he died in 1404, and he was the ruler of Iran, Iraq, and the modern day Turkey. And children, see, the Mughals, they did not like to be called Mughals or the Mongols, because the memories of Genghis Khan, he was such a ruthless ruler that his memories are associated with the massacre of innumerable people. He used to kill people, he used to eat the flesh of the people, his army. They used to drink the blood of the people. They were so, people used to fear, scare a lot from there. So that's why they were not happy to be called as Mughal or Mongols. Fine. And it was something linked with the Uzbeks also. Their other Mongol competitors were the Uzbeks, so they did not want to be called as Mughals or the Mongols. And on the other hand, they used to feel proud when they used to feel proud of their Tamurid this ancestry, because Tamur, why they were happy to be called about Tamur, because their great ancestor, Tamurid ancestry, they have captured Delhi in 1398. So they used to feel proud in that. Now, children, they used to celebrate their genealogy pictorically. Fine. Now you can see this picture. How every ruler, they used to have a picture made of Tamur and himself. So now this sort of picture they used to have a group photograph. Every ruler, every Mughal ruler, they used to have a group photograph made with the Tamur. Fine. Now Mughal military campaigns, children. Now, children, Babur was the first Mughal emperor. Fine. Now, from 1526 to 1530, this was his time period. His time period was very, you know, less. For a short period of time, he, ruled. But he put he started the, Mughal empire. Fine. So now he succeeded the throne of Fergana in 1494 when he was only 12 years old. Babur. Fine. Then he was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to invasion of another Mongol groups, the Uzbeks. Now the Uzbeks, they invaded his ancestral throne, and he was forced to leave from there. Fine. From where? From Fergana, when he was 12 years old. That time he joined. So now, after years of wandering, he seized Kabul in 1504. Now he seized Kabul. Now in 1526, children, he defeated Sultan of Delhi. Who was the Sultan of Delhi that time? Ibrahim Lodi. At Panipat. Now Panipat was a plain area, so here everybody used to have, the wars. So here he defeated Ibrahim Lodi and he captured Delhi and Agra. Now, children, you will just see this, table. In that table, we are going to read about the major campaigns of and the events, what all events took place. Now, children, see, the first was Babur. just now we discussed. Now in 1526, Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi and his Afghan supporters at Lodi was supported by Afghans. At, so he defeated both of them at Panipat. Then in 1527, what he did? Now he defeated Rana Sanga. He was a Rajput ruler and he was very brave. Fine. So he defeated him also and his supporters also. Fine. At Khanua. Fine. And then 1528 he defeated the Rajputs of Chanderi. So the Chanderi Rajputs he defeated and he established control over Agra and Delhi before his death. So before his death he controlled Agra and Delhi. So at least he put a stone, the starting stone of the Mughal Empire. Fine. After that, his son Humayun, he became the ruler. Now Humayun, just see the time period is differentiated. 1530 to 1540, 1555 to 1556. Now why is this gap is there? We will discuss. See, Humayun, after the death of his father, he divided his inheritance according to the will of his father. However, his father, whatever his father said, Humayun distributed the empire as per his father's will. His brothers were each given a province, so all were divided, all were given provinces. Fine. The ambitions of his brother Mirza Kamran weakened Humayun's cause against Afghan competitors. Now, who was Mirza Kamran? He was his half brother. Now, children, what do you mean by half brother? See, that time the rulers they do not have one wife; they used to have many wives. So he was his half brother, means the father was same, the mother was different. So Mirza Kamran was against Humayun because Humayun took over the area of Delhi, so he became the Sultan, and he used to always be against Humayun. Fine. Now he with the help of Sher Khan. Who was Sher Khan? Sher Shah Suri. Fine. So Sher Khan, with the help of Sher Khan, Humayun was defeated at Chausa. So when he was defeated in 1539, and just see and in Kannauj also in 1540, and he forced him to flee to Iran. So he just went back. I mean, he went out to Iran. Now just see 1530 to 1540 is clear. Now in Iran, Humayun he received the help from Safavid Shah. In Iran, the ruler Safavid Shah, he helped him a lot. Humayun. Fine. Then again, children, he recaptured Delhi in 1555. But after his recapturing Delhi, he died the very next year in an accident in the building. Now, what was the accident? See here, the picture is. So, this is a library made by Sher Shah Suri. So, Humayun was very, fond of reading books. So, he was reading book in the library, and he fell from the stairs. So, accidentally, he dead. He was died. Fine. Now after Humayun, see, when Humayun was in Iran and that time period, now his wife gave birth to Akbar. Fine. Same way, Humayun was also having many wives. So one of his wife gave birth to Akbar. Now we will talk about the Akbar. Fine. Now Akbar was 13 years old when Humayun died, and he became the emperor. Now Akbar's reign is divided into three periods, children. First period is 1556 to 70. Second period is 1570 to 1585, and third time period is 1585 to 1605. Now Akbar became independent. Now Behram Khan, was the the person whom Humayun used to trust a lot. So he was there with Akbar, and now he became independent in the age of 13 years. Now military campaigns were launched against the Suris and other Afghans against the neighboring kingdoms of Malwa, Gondwa, and he suppressed the revolt of his. Now he captured so many areas, but he was also facing the revolt of his half brother Mirza Hakim. Mirza Hakim was protesting again and again, revolting again and again. Half brother again, not from the same mother but from the same father. And the Uzbeks. Do you remember the Uzbeks? Fine. So he was getting revolt from Mirza Hakim also and Uzbek also. In 1568, the Sisodia capital at Chittor was seized, and in 1569 Ranthambore. So he was just capturing the areas. Who? Akbar. Now, in 1570 to 1585, we are going to talk. That time he had military campaigns in Gujarat, and followed by east in Bihar, Bengal, Odisha. Now, these campaigns were complicated. Why? Because he was facing revolt in support of Mirza Hakim. Now, here he was facing revolt. Who was supporting that revolt? Mirza Hakim. Now, 1585 to 1605. Now, expansion of Akbar's empire. It expanded a lot. Now again the campaigns were launched in the northwest. Kandahar was seized from Safavids. Now Safavids, do you remember? To whom Humayun got help. Now Akbar captured them also. Kashmir also. Kabul. After the death of Mirza Hakim, he gave him the area of Kabul. So after the death of Mirza Hakim, he captured that area also. And even he started campaign in the Deccan area. Berur, Khandesh, and parts of Ahmednagar that was also annexed. In the last year of his reign, Akbar was distracted by the rebellion of his prince Salim, the future emperor Jahangir. Now you will notice that all these Mughal emperors, they were facing rebellion from their own family. Now their sons are going to rebel. Fine. Now here Salim is rebelling, and who is going to change his name to Jahangir, and Jahangir's son will also rebel. Fine. That is Shah Jahan. Then Shah Jahan's son will also rebel, who is Aurangzeb. Now see, we will talk about Jahangir now. Now what did Jahangir do? Military campaigns started by Akbar continued the policies. Sisodia rulers of Mewair, Amar Singh, he accepted Mughal services. He accepted the Mughal services himself. Fine. No military campaign was there. Less successful campaigns against the Sikhs. Now they were not able to successfully capture Sikhs, Ahams, and Ahmednagar followed. Fine. So they were having less successful campaigns there. Now Prince Khurram, the future emperor Shah Jahan. Now Shah Jahan's other name was Khurram, and Shah Jahan's real name was Khurram, and Jahangir's real name was Salim. Fine, they changed their name. Now, who future emperor Shah Jahan. Now he also rebelled in the last year of the reign of Jahangir. Now Noor Jahan, he put a lot of efforts. Now who was Noor Jahan? Jahangir's wife, to marginalize the thing, to suppress the rebel, but she was not successful. Now Shah Jahan became the ruler. Now Shah Jahan. Now again they continued the campaigns in the Deccan area. Fine. Now Noble Khan, Afghan noble Khan Jah Lodi rebelled. Now this Afghan noble Khan Jah Lodi, like they were the people who were given responsibility to take care of the Deccan area. Now he also rebelled, and he was defeated by Shah Jahan. Campaigns were launched against Ahmednagar, the Bundels were defeated, and Orcha was seized. In the northwest, the campaign to seize bulk from the Uzbeks was unsuccessful, and Kandahar was lost to the Safavids. Now, again, the Safavids they you know, captured Kandahar. In 1632, Ahmednagar was finally annexed and Bijapur forces sued to peace. Now these areas were also captured. Again now see in 1657-58 there was a conflict over succession again between the Shah Jahan's sons. Now the main problem was that they were having many wives and many children. So that became the source of conflict. Their empire, how they are going to distribute the empire, that became the source of conflict. Now now Aurangzeb was very victorious and his three brothers including Dara Shikoh. Now Shah Jahan wanted to make Dara Shikoh the ruler. Fine, but Aurangzeb was very ruthless. What he did, he killed Dara Shikoh, his three brothers, and he imprisoned Shah Jahan. Fine, for the rest of his life in Agra. Fine, so he was so ruthless that he imprisoned his father and he murdered his three brothers. Now we will talk about the Aurangzeb. Now Aurangzeb is not liked by the people. Akbar was liked by the people. These rulers, they were somewhat, they were having religious tolerance. They were not forcing people to accept their religions and all. But Aurangzeb was that type of ruler. Fine. Now people did not like Aurangzeb, and it was after Aurangzeb only that the Mughal Empire started to decline because he made a lot of enemies. Fine. Now in the northeast, the Ahams were defeated in 1663, but they rebelled again in 1680s. Northwest again the Yusufzais and the Sikh. Now that campaign was also temporarily unsuccessful. Now Mughal intervention, children, in the succession and internal policies of Rathore Rajputs of Mebar led to their rebellion. Now Rathore Rajputs, they also rebelled. Campaigns against Marathas, Shivaji, that was initially successful, but Aurangzeb insulted Shivaji and he escaped to Agra, and after that he declared himself independent. Fine. Now, and he again resumed his campaign against the Mughals, Shivaji. Now Prince Akbar, now his prince was he also had prince. The name of his prince was also Akbar, same name as his great grandfather. Now he also rebelled. Fine, and he got support from Marathas and the Deccan Sultanate, and ultimately finally he has to flee to Safavid Iran. He has to flee to Iran because Aurangzeb wanted to murder him. After Akbar's rebellion, Aurangzeb sent armies against the Deccan Sultanate. Bijapur was annexed, Golconda. Then in 1698, Aurangzeb personally managed campaigns in the Deccan against the Marathas. Whoever supported them, supported Akbar, they had campaigns against them. Aurangzeb also had to face rebellion in the north. Now he had to face rebellion. I told you six. Now who were rebelling? Sikhs, Jats, Satnamis, and in the northeast it was the Ohms, and in the Deccan it was the Marathas. So he had a lot of enemies. So ultimately his death was followed by a succession conflict amongst his son. So everybody has a succession conflict among their sons. So all the Mughal rulers, they had conflict in their home only. So see, if you talk about the Akbar's administration was remembered till now. Jahangir, he promoted art, dance, and Shah Jahan. If you talk, when we call the name of Shah Jahan, what comes to your mind? Taj Mahal. So he promoted architectural things. So this was all about the Mughals. I'm in the table, their major campaigns and events. Children, thank you and have a nice day.